Welcome to Let's Talk, a place for straight talk, hard topics, and smart people. And today we're broadcasting live from the Society of Nuclear Medicine meeting in Toronto. Really happy to be here with Julia Brosch Lenz to chat. Julia, I'm truly happy to have you here today because you are, I think, one of the few real experts on this planet that understand from a theranostics perspective, what is this thing about a digital twin and how does theranostics plug into that vision? So what is that?
So basically, when we talk about the theranostic digital twin, we kind of mean like it's a blueprint which comes from the engineering side. So we kind of have a digital representation of our patient where all the available data is going in, starting with theranostics imaging. That could be the PET-CT before therapy. That could be post-therapy imaging. That could be all the information about prior therapy of that patient. And we bring it together to model and to virtually test different treatments and then decide which is the best treatment option, how should we deliver the treatment, and what is the outcome.
So what is the long-term vision for this as a large population on the planet? Are we all going to have a twin somewhere that has all our data in it? Is that
ideally, yes. The cancer patient digital twin, that's kind of like already a reality. We can tackle that issue. The problem is right now we need data to make it like literally happening for every cancer disease, for every single patient. But the current paradigm is that we have 7.4 gigabecquerel for every single patient, neuroendocrine tumors, prostate cancer, no matter how individual each of us is. So ideally in the future, depending on the disease, depending on the cancer type and genomics, and depending on the other individual parameters that we just as humans have, we can tailor the treatment and individualize the radioactivity, the interval between treatments, the way it's administered to maximize the outcome for the patient.
How does this turn it into reality? Great, exciting vision. That would be great. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I'm going to need that care, right? But what's happening now? What can people do now to plug into this?
So we had excellent conversation about that just like yesterday here at the conference. What we need is so much. We request so much data. What is that data? Well, we need to acquire these images around the patient during treatment, before treatment. That's costly, but also we need to implement it in the clinical routine. But that data, once we have it, is beautiful because it describes how the radioactivity behaves in that individual patient. And the question is, what data do we need? It starts with just writing down the injection time point and the injected activity, and can be as complex as pharmacologic modeling of that individual patient. So from little to big, we aim high, but do what we can right now. So, for example, our blood volume, it's not that you have 15 liters of blood. We know there's a certain amount, like minimum, maximum. It doesn't need to be super precise. Mm-hmm. But this knowledge, population-based knowledge that we can involve and include already right now. And all the rest comes from the imaging around that individual patient.
Okay, so you scared me and a lot of people by talking about more imaging. And I just say this, as you know, Voximetry, we talk to people about dosimetry every day. And the first thing we hear is, I can't do more imaging for a whole variety of reasons. So is that a barrier to what you're trying to do? Or how do you anticipate motivating people or somehow enabling them to do more imaging?
So that's the whole chicken and egg problem that we have. It's not only about the imaging, it's about dosimetry in general. Depending on who you talk to, they don't even do a single SPECT-CT to do single time point dosimetry. But right now, at the stage we're at, we need to have the best data possible. So if we hamper ourselves right now, just doing one time point, the dose estimate, it will be an estimate that we get because we don't actually know how it behaves, like the shape of the curve in the individual patient. So if the data we get right now is not precise and accurate enough to allow us predictive modeling of the outcome of a certain patient, or at least understanding if I have that kidney absorbed dose, that's the biological meaning. If I have that tumor absorbed dose, that's the biological meaning. If we don't derive that for certain population of patients with high accuracy, we limit ourselves and will never be able to do anything meaningful in the future.
So in the short term, I think what you're saying is we do have to view this through a scientific discovery and development lens. We have to find those academic leaders or whoever are the right group of early participants who say, for academic reasons, not routine clinical use, we just have to work together to get this data. How does this project get past the really serious barrier of now a lot of these clinics and universities don't want to share their data, at least not for free? So how do you get past that objection?
So that is something also we need to consider. What can we actually share? Can we train the models here? Is it maybe just enough that I share that was the injected activity, that was the effective half-life in the kidneys? Maybe it's just like that line and information I need, and maybe I don't need to actually hang out the images. But right now, I'm lucky enough that I work on a project where we're gonna collect that data on a large scale, pre-therapy, post-therapy, and I'm lucky enough to have physicians and collaborations around where we together as a team want to derive that. It's not yours, it's not mine. I mean, even if we work 24/7, we will never achieve that alone. It's literally a team effort in the field right now.
So if you're going to build this database, what is the purpose of it? Or can people come in? Can they use that data to train models and then contribute? But then because that's another challenge for everyone.
So that would be the whole idea, that we actually share the data. Artificial intelligence, when we talk about that, in other fields have thousands and thousands of data cases, but nuclear medicine is still a small field. So usually when you look at the publications or even the trained model from industry, it's a few hundred of patients. So when we actually want to derive something meaningful, we need more and more data. That could be simulations. I mean, there's Monte Carlo simulations of SPECT acquisitions in digital phantoms already. All that information from that comes into the digital twin as well. We can easily simulate 10,000 of these cases. We can play around with reconstruction. So it's stepwise, and it's such a huge field and problem, starting from imaging, starting from enhancing images, starting from segmentation, registration, time integration. For the dosimetry, are we focusing on organ level? Do we do a full Monte Carlo dosimetry?
I don't know. What do you think?
So I think,
I'm a little vested in that question.
I know, but I mean, that's my perspective. I think right now when I talk to a physician and I give them a ton of information, they don't know how to interpret it. But if we limit ourselves right now and just do organ level dosimetry and just report one single mean absorbed dose value, which is fine, which might be predictive, but we should right now already focus on 3D dosimetry, such that in future, maybe in 5 years down the road, we can go back and reassess the data. So when we want to do that, we need to focus on how's our body looking like. We have prostate cancer with bone lesions, neuroendocrine tumors, soft tissue lesions. So all of that can only be captured in Monte Carlo simulations. Maybe some density weighting with voxel S values might be enough. But when we especially look at issues like bone marrow toxicity, bone marrow is tiny, way smaller than a voxel size. Well, even a voxel with 5 millimeter, what is the information? Is that our imaging resolution? Do we trust that one value and that one voxel? But maybe with simulations, Monte Carlo simulations, we can do from the macroscopic organ voxel level to microscopic level. We can play around. I mean, Monte Carlo simulations can describe the universe. Why not applying that in medicine?
Yeah. So since I have a world-class physicist in front of me here now too, talking about dosimetry, can you just comment on your thoughts for biological equivalent dose, right? I mean, what does this absorbed dose number mean? Is it even useful the way anybody in the field is calculating it today for RPT? Because they say, oh, now we know how much absorbed dose this kidney got, and that'll help us when we do a follow-on external beam. But then I'm told we can't add these numbers. So how are we going to?
So probably there is absorbed dose is just energy per mass. So the mass of a voxel of an organ will play in, but it's just energy per mass. And when we look at biological meaning of absorbed dose, we want to look at DNA damage.
Yeah, so right. This would be microdosimetry, right? So is this part of coming back to digital twin? Microdosimetry ideally is part of that vision?
Absolutely, because in a human, we would need biopsy after therapy to actually have a look at the cellular level. What we can do is we can learn from animal studies where we can do cut and count. So we can remove the organs after sacrifice. We can cut them. We can even with alpha therapy, we can look at the microscopic distribution of the alpha particle.
Interesting.
And then we can use Monte Carlo simulations to model that literally on the cellular level with damage to the cell nuclei, to the cell DNA. And there's already great work out there, theoretical wise. Again, in an individual patient, we will never get at that data because, again, we have voxelized 5 millimeter resolution here. But we can learn from the field and bring it together in the digital twin with that macro to micro modeling.
So if there's one message you want to get out right now about the digital twin and I guess what that represents, the potential what that might mean in the future, what is it you want people to know about it right now?
I want people to join forces to overcome limitations that we fight over terminology. Is it important we call it molecular radiotherapy or radiopharmaceutical therapy? Adopting dosimetry in the clinical routine, in the day-to-day life of patients, such that patients are aware, patients participate. From there, we gather the data, we improve, and we can improve our model, and then hopefully arrive at the diagnostic digital twin having an impact on patient outcomes and patient lives.
Right. So let me ask, because what I think I heard you say, but you said it wasn't much more nicely, but you're saying, let's not waste our time on silly arguments when we've got patients that need this now. If we get these things out, we can extend lives right now.
No.
But if we're arguing over the name of something, like whatever. Right. Okay. I think I get that point. Yeah. So Julia, the digital idea is exciting. I think for a lot of people who are going to view this, they're going to want access to some of this data to train models, and they're going to hopefully want to contribute, because this is a good idea that we get centralized. And you said you've got this project that's trying to pull all this together. What is the project? How do people plug in?
So basically, the project is to join forces to tackle the diagnostic digital twin. That is in terms of how do we do this dosimetry together? Can we improve models? How do we acquire data in a standardized and formalized way? How do we report it, ideally machine readable? And once we have that data, it could be from all over the world, so we can contribute with data. And then ideally, every researcher, every clinic, everyone with interest in pushing forward can connect. And in that safe environment, we can actually push and develop these models to make it available for patients right now, not in 10 years.
And right. And what can we tell that? Is this a Call Julia thing if people want to plug in?
I mean, I'm happy to reach out and have these conversations and collaborations because, again, it's a team effort. I alone will never achieve anything meaningful in that regard. But if together as a field, we join forces and someone is bringing in radiobiology background, someone is bringing in pharmacokinetic modeling, another one is bringing in dosimetry expertise, another one is saying, hey, I have these 20 patients that I treat routinely in my practice. Can you do something for me? So if we bring that together and have an open conversation, that will actually. I
think you're saying you're in a position to help build this collaborative team, global team of participants. That right now you probably, that's partly. I knew you were involved here. That's why I wanted to talk to you today. You are a good point of contact, for people who want to plug it, because I'm assuming your database needs a high level of diversity, right? Is one of your objectives?
That's the other thing. Like, we should not exclude a single data case just because of any reason. We should build and include whatever we can out there. And I was lucky enough to work with a great group of people, Dr. Carlos Uribe, Dr. Aman Ramin, Dr. Babak Saburi, joining that vision and pushing forward for the diagnostic digital twin. And literally on all ends of it, on all aspects, we are working on it. And again, I was lucky enough to have met these people, and we are building upon that.
Yeah. Julia, when I first started talking to people about Let's Talk, our idea is to, with Let's Talk, is to just get these hard topics with smart people out there and have some straight talk about it, obviously. And right away, the idea, we'll post these online, and people said, can we have community chat, community interactions? What if people want to respond to these topics as you post them on Let's Talk? So is that something you'd be interested in? If we're able to, give people a chance to comment online, would you be open to responding to some of that and continuing this dialogue online?
Of course. Again, we need to raise awareness, not only for patients and patient families, but also in the field. When you talk to physicians, many haven't even heard of radiopharmaceutical therapy. Just that is the problem. And when we then talk about something fancy like the diagnostic digital twin, what is that? So even more difficult to understand. So I'm happy that you put it out there, that you give me the chance to share my vision and my thoughts on it, which is just my very narrow view.
Oh, yes, she's very narrow. Yes.
But the other thing is happy, of course, discussing that, answering questions. It also builds on education, and I'm happy you tackle that because when we educate the field, when we raise awareness, maybe someone's coming in, oh, what do you think about this idea? Have you thought of that? I might have not thought of it.
Yes.
So it will push everyone to move
Awesome. Awesome. Very exciting. So glad to have you here. Now you all know why I invited Julia Brosch Lenz. She's just amazing. So very, very fun to have you here. And let's talk again soon.
Absolutely.